Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Let me tell you a story. Back in May 2022, a certain YouTuber first discovered a game called A Torch in the Dark by Michael Elliot. This was a game inspired by and based on Blades in the Dark by John Harper, which this YouTuber still can't afford to buy. It looked interesting, it looked fun, it looked like something that the YouTuber could feature on his channel. He purchased it, he printed it out and had it bound. And here it is, the rule book from May 2022. So with book in hand, I then played through some of the delves or the dungeons and had a lot of fun and confirmed that this was definitely something worth pursuing for channel content. Now, it wasn't a brand new game, even in 2022. This game has been around since early 2020, and as such, it wasn't a priority project for the YouTube channel. Since brand new games tend to get more views due to the initial interest at the time of release, and I was kind of looking for views and subs at the time, so I had to put this on the back burner for a little while, and I focused on newly released games. July 2022 comes along, and I have a break in the schedule. I can get back to A Torch in the Dark. Well, not really, because at that time I heard that a Kickstarter was imminent for version 2 of the game. Darn it, I waited too long. Then it's quickly August and the Kickstarter's up. I joined the Kickstarter, very excited. I really liked the first version and I was really looking forward to seeing what version 2 would bring. So I'll wait for the new edition, thought I. Yeah, the video can wait. I'll get the new version and do a video for the new release. Yeah, I could have done a version 1 video in the meantime, but it was, estimated delivery was December. I didn't think it was too long. February 2023 comes along, end of February, and I finally have the new version printed out and ready, and 2, I have a chance to move aside some other projects to bring you A Torch in the Dark. Version 2, or version 2.2, the new version, yeah! Now, I should say at this point, I did plan to have some music, a variation or a mashup of an Ozzy Osbourne song, the Shot in the Dark, changed to A Torch in the Dark, but, as well as not really having a good singing voice, but the ever-constant threat of copyright claims and YouTube's stupidly easy way to abuse the copyright system basically prevented it. So I do apologize to you guys. There will be no song. My apologies, Ozzy. Now, before I quickly go over the changes in the new version, I just want to quickly say that for the new version, I actually inverted the colors for the front and back cover to save print ink. Otherwise, it was actually a lot of black. like this one here. This one actually used up quite a lot of ink when I was printing this one out back then. So for the new version, I actually inverted the colors just to make it a little bit more print friendly. The rest of the book is friendly enough as it is. Right. Now, I want to give a few words on the changes. If you don't have the first version, then please feel free to skip this part and head on over to the next section, which will be the gameplay. I'll include timestamps in the description so you can skip away. Look forward to seeing you in a second. But for those of you who have version 1, I'm going to put a picture, probably in the corner here, to show you the changes as specified by the designer, Michael Elliot. So you can see all the details. And while you're reading through that, I'll also speak about whether it's worth playing version 2 if you have version 1. Well, I mean, if you have version 1 anyway, you should be getting a copy of version 2. This is from the Kickstarter page, and I can confirm that I did get a message from DriveThruRPG telling me that there was an updated version waiting for me to download free of charge, which actually wasn't the Kickstarter reward. It was just an update for everybody who has purchased the game already. You're getting version 2 free. But is the new version worth playing? Is it worth, downloading, printing, binding, whatever? Is it better than version 1? Is it different enough? Well, is it worth playing? Yes. Is it better? Possibly. Is it different? In some ways. The new version is essentially a streamlined, faster, smoother version of the game, but with the same basic mechanics and the same basic dungeons and delves. However, there are enough differences to make you try it again, or, like I say, if you're a first-time player, to give it a go. The biggest difference between version 1 and version 2 is actually the layout and content. Previously, in version 1, the dungeons that we would be exploring, or the delves, would cover 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages. And, there would be quite constant flicking and changing of pages as you are looking for the different encounters and results. Now the dungeons are on 2 pages. So as long as you print it correctly, you can open the book to the dungeon that you want to play, or the one that's currently in sequence, and everything is there in front of you. You don't have to turn any more pages. It's there. Like for me, as we're going to be doing the gameplay, I just printed out as a spread format, and this is what I'm going to be using, which will then free up the book in case I need to check any rules. So it's less, what's the best word to use? It's better laid out, and it's a more efficient publication. What else? Well, the gameplay is faster. It is deadlier. There are no more resurrections in this game, so when you're dead, you're dead. The consequences are also a little bit different in this compared to version 1. Delves or dungeons are more limited in the number of possible encounters. Previously, each suit had its own set of encounters. So, for example, the 2 of hearts, the 2 of spades, the 2 of clubs, the 2 of diamonds, these would each have their own different encounter, which you would find on the clubs page, on the diamonds page, on the hearts page, and on the spades page. Every encounter was different, and that made for a lot of variety, a lot of different experiences. And I have to admit, I liked that. I liked to have all these different encounters. But did we need so many? Well, in the new version, there isn't so many. Like I say, previously, aces to tens, there would be a different encounter for each suit. But now, it doesn't matter which two you drew, you would basically be having the same encounter. But, of course, you could potentially have that encounter 4 times. Queens and kings do still have separate encounters for each suit, although it is a little bit strange that jacks are not, that jacks are now considered to be the same as all the others. You know, maybe people like the queens, maybe they like the kings, but they don't like the jacks very much, so maybe the jacks got relegated. But I was kind of thinking that all the unique cards in the first version will kind of stay with individual encounters, but no, actually jacks, it's just one encounter for all the suits. I don't know, maybe somebody doesn't like jacks. So yeah, I mean, I liked all the different encounters previously, but I can kind of see how their reduction helps with streamlining the game, making it a smaller page count. I mean, the original game, the first version, was 70 plus pages. Version 2 is only 30 plus, so it's less than half the number of pages. And I've got to be honest, I'm actually happy with the new version. It feels just as good to play. It feels more fluid, and the mechanics kind of make more sense in the new version of the game. So I don't think it's such a big loss. I mean, unless you're playing this game over and over again, I don't think it's a big loss. Some of the other things I really like about the new version are, again, some of the ways the game has evolved. For example, downtime activities. Now you can only do it once per activity. So, for example, you want to rest, you've got one chance to rest. So you have to select how much stash to spend, and you make one roll for resting. You can make one roll for resupply and the other activities that you do during downtime. So you can only do those once now. So it brings up a challenge in terms of how many dice do I need to assign to this, because I'm only going to get one shot. Previously, you could use one stash, have one roll. If it didn't work, you could spend another stash, do another roll, in the first version. But now you've really got to consider, should you spend 2 stash or 3 stash on the roll? Yeah, I like it. I do like it. Stress has also changed, I think, for the better in the new version of the game. But yeah, overall, the game, it still feels the same. It's still amazing, but it feels like it's... what's another good way of explaining this? It's like the game has gone to the gym and it's lost pounds of fat that were not needed, allowing for a fitter, healthier game. I think that's the best way that I can explain it. So in my honest opinion, I do think that this is a evolution. It is a positive evolution of the game. But enough of the chatter about the changes. What we're going to do now is an instructional playthrough. So let's learn and play the game together. Onwards! Right, let's get started with the playthrough. Now, at the beginning of the book, there is some narrative, and also at the start of some of the chapters, they provide a little bit of narrative, so you know the background story, but it's going to take a while to read that for you, so I'll leave it to you to read for yourselves when you get the game. But let's just say that evil nobles ruled the land. A revolution took them down. The evil emperor cursed the land and all who lived within as he died, demons and devils. Dead nobility have arisen, undead. The Revolutionary Council have become traitorous dicks. They arrested and executed brother, who's like the spiritual leader, the mother of the revolution. And now that she's a spirit guiding you to go down into the dungeons and the crypts and to kill all the nobles again. That's pretty much the background. Like I say, the narrative is actually written pretty well. It's an interesting read, but I will leave that to you to discover. Now, in this game, there are 9 dungeons in total, and they have to be played in sequence. They do get more difficult as you go through. You are going to need at least 6 d6 or 6-sided dice. I have to say, in the games that I played before recording the video, I never actually used more than 4, but 6 just in case. You are also going to need a deck of playing cards, just normal playing cards. These ones are a little bit snazzy, but plain playing cards will be fine. You need a pen skill, you need an eraser, and you will need the character sheet. Well, I mean, you could write on a piece of paper, but the character sheet has it all laid out very nicely. And the character sheet actually has the reference sheet on the other side. So it's a nice little document. Right, what else do we need to know? There are 2 modes of play. Delves and downtime. Now, delves are where you actually go down into the dungeon, do all the encounters, fighting undead, etc., etc. Basically, when you're going to have some fun. Downtime is where you leave the dungeon to rest, recuperate, chill, resupply, etc., etc., and then go back to continue. Or when you complete a dungeon, downtime is the period before you go next to the next dungeon. What else do we need to know? Okay, so drawing cards. These cards are going to represent the dungeon areas and the encounters that you're going to face. So these have been shuffled already, but you will shuffle the deck before you start each dungeon. And you're going to draw 1 card at a time. So that is the King of Spades. You will then go and look on the dungeon and see what the King of Spades does. Follow the prompt, do what it tells you to do. If you succeed, you will then draw another card, 6 of hearts, and continue. If the card gives you something where it gives you options and you choose not to do it, then that card you place at the bottom of the deck. If it's an option and you choose not to do, you put it at the bottom of the deck. If you succeed that particular encounter, then that card is discarded. If you leave the dungeon and come back, that card is not reshuffled back. Yeah. So unlike the first edition, where you basically used to shuffle back everything except for the face cards, in version 2, whenever you reveal a card and you complete it, you don't shuffle it back if you leave the dungeon and come back. Now I'm going to have to reshuffle these, isn't I? Now, in the game, the dice are used to overcome the challenges and the encounters that you're going to face when you play the cards. And there will be a phrase called risk it that you're going to see quite frequently. Now, if it's risk it with an exclamation mark, it basically means that you've got to do it. If it's a risk it with a question mark, then it's an optional thing that you can do if you want to. Yeah, in which case you roll the dice and see what happens. Or if you don't want to do it, it goes to the bottom of the deck. So when you are told to risk it, or when you choose to risk it, what you do is you will assemble a pool of dice. And this is going to be equal to the number of skills, items, and companions that you think can aid you in overcoming the challenge or encounter. Again, we're going to play through. You'll see how this works. But this is where you've got to be creative and you've got to be able to justify why. For example, if you have a combat encounter, maybe you have a sword that can help you in a combat encounter. Maybe you have armor that can help you. Maybe you have a companion who's a soldier, they can help you. Okay? So you're looking at all your items, you're looking at your skills, and you're trying to justify how they're going to help you. For each one that can help you in this encounter or challenge, you add 1 dice. What else can you do? Well, you can also add 1 dice if you want to push yourself. This will then give you a stress marker. Once your stress is complete, you can't do it anymore. Yeah? And if you draw a joker, that's normally a demon. Whenever you fight a demon, you have to subtract 1 dice for every corruption that you have. Now, corruption is one of the consequences that you can take when you screw up your dice, because what you'll be doing, once you've got your pool in readiness, you roll the dice. Saw that coming. If you've watched my other videos, you knew that was coming. So the highest is a 2, so you'd basically take the highest value. So this would be a 2. Now, when you've rolled the dice, a 6 means you succeed. A 4 or 5 is a partial success. So that would have been a partial success, either one of those, which means you succeed in the risk it, but you have a consequence. There's some kind of payment or some kind of effect that happens to you. A 1 to 3, like I rolled there, is a failure. We get a consequence, yes, something happens, and we have to roll it again. So that's a bit better. So in this case, I would take the 5, which is a partial success. So we succeed, but like I say, there's going to be a consequence. If you are luckier than me and you roll multiple 6s, that's what's called a critical success. You pass, even if you need multiple successes. This is a full pass, critical success. So let's say, for example, I think when you're facing some of the nobles, the bosses, it will say you have to get 3 successes. Well, if you rolled this, that counts as a critical success. All the successes are done, you pass, yeah? Encounters completed. What about the situation where you don't have any dice, where you have no skills and no equipment that can actually help you? And maybe your stress is maxed out, you can't push it anymore. That basically means you have no dice. Does it mean you automatically fail? No. What that means is you roll 2 dice and you take the lowest. In this case, not too bad, it would be a 4. Yeah, because it was a 4 and a 5, you take the lowest. 4 is still a partial success. When can it be negative? Yeah, demons. Demons! Now, when you're rolling the dice and you don't get a 6, everything else means you have to take a consequence. Whether you succeed or fail, you basically have to take what's called a consequence. So this is something that happens to you, some kind of damage, some kind of loss that happens in addition to your success or failure. So you can either mark a condition, things like being afraid, cursed, pale, necrotic flesh, injured, cut, bruised, obsessed, possessed. These don't have any effect on the game, so to speak, until you have more conditions than you have skills. When that happens, you die. So at the start of the game, you're going to be having 3 skills. If you have to mark a 4th condition, you're dead. What else is there? So you can choose. You can choose to take a condition, or you can expend an item. Items will take up a certain amount of load, a certain amount of space. You can basically expend an item to decrease its load, to signify damage to that item or use of ammo, for example. You can lose an item. So that's, for example, if an item only has 1 load, or if it has been expended down to just 1 load, you can just get rid of it, basically. That's also a consequence where maybe you use something up, you have to break something or what's the best word? Or lose something to succeed. Number 4, you can also mark corruption. This, I would only do this as I think this would probably be my last choice, because again, you're also going to try to follow the story. So if the story kind of points towards that you're going to be corrupted because of the encounter, maybe you do it. But corruption you can also take, so you can mark on the corruption. But this will affect you when you have to fight against demons, so it's a bit risky. You can also harm companions. Now, you may find companions on your journey. You will lose them when you leave the dungeon. In version 1, in the original game, companions could only take 2 damage. Now they can take 4. Now, one of the things I do like about this game is that there are no stats. There's no strength, agility, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. There's none of that. It's simply a question of skills, items, companions, and things like that basically determine whether you can pass or fail an encounter or a challenge. But I also like the fact that when you come across these encounters, there isn't just one way to overcome the challenge. For example, you get charged by some undead, some skeletons. Of course you can fight, but it's open enough so that you can choose to do other things. Maybe you want to try to run away. Maybe you want to try and avoid them, hide, for example. In which case, you can actually choose different combinations. So instead of using things like brawl or duel, you could possibly use things such as athletics. Is it here? Yeah, athletics. So it does give you a little bit of openness in terms of how you approach these challenges and encounters. One thing I did notice is that in the book, you've got some items here, which they're not in alphabetical order. So there's a couple here that should be down here, but minor thing. So you got skills, and likewise with the items. Again, there's not just one way of overcoming the encounter. You could also use different items as well to aid you, etc., etc. So there are some example characters that you could choose to use or maybe randomly roll for, but I think we're going to create our own character. So I've already looked or but I've used a random generator online to come up with the name Klepto Liam. That's my character's name. You start with 3 torches, because this is another way you can die in this game. If you run out of light, if you have no more sources of light, you did. The other way is if your corruption is ever maxed. If your corruption is maxed, you die. So 3 ways to die. If you have 1 more condition than your skills, if you have no light, and if you have full corruption. You did. So, starting characters get 3 skills and 3 items. Now for skills, I want to kind of have a mix so that I've got a good choice in terms of different encounters that I may face. Being too specialized could hurt. There may be times where you have nothing that can help you, in which case you're rolling 2 dice and taking the lowest. That's dangerous. I know from playing the game before that some kind of combat skill will be extremely useful. Now we have murder, killing people. That can always be useful. But when I was playing the game before, I limited murder to basically non-undead. It's a bit difficult to murder undead, yeah? Assassination, almost the same. You got brawl, you got duel. Brawl is kind of the more general fighting. Duel is a bit more specific, one-on-one. Now, why would you ever take duel instead of brawl? Well, when you fail a roll, when you fail to risk it, you get experience. And you'll mark your experience here. When your XP is equal to the number of skills, you rub them out and you get a new skill. So, it says here, where is it? Specific skills will let you fail more often in your early delves, which is important if you want to get XP in order to add more skills. General skills will kind of be a bit more useful for you, but it won't give you XP as often. And the thing is, it's like the saying goes, if you're going to fail, fail early. The early delves, the early dungeons are a bit more forgiving in terms of failing and the consequences of failing. The later dungeons are going to be a lot more dangerous, where maybe you want to have more skills available to you. So, but I don't know. But I think I'm going to take Brawl as my general fighting skill. I was also thinking maybe Sneak or Athletics or Acrobatics maybe, to help in cases where combat's not an option and I need to be able to escape. I mean, sneaking is a more pre-encounter thing where you're able to plan ahead. Athletics or acrobatics may be as a more reactive. Let's have a think. I think I'm going to go for athletics. I think that would be, again, a bit more useful. Athletics. And for my third and final skill, I'm thinking some kind of mental brain skill, in case I need to sort of do some kind of puzzle solving or think instead of just being a jock. So let's have a look and see. Rituals, rhetoric, talking. Talking could be useful. Being able to talk people into following you, being able to talk enemies not attack you, that could be quite useful. You can actually come up with your own skills. You don't have to just follow this list here. You can actually come up with your own. Find clues, think carefully. I think that one sounds good, so I'll use reason. Again, I'm thinking more in terms of puzzle solving and things that could possibly come along. So I've got my 3 skills. So now to get a new skill, I need to earn 3 XP. And I can only earn XP by failing risk it checks. Okay, we also have 3 items and 3 torches. Okay, so I've put the torches down here. Now your inventory is going to be a 3x5 grid, and you have to write in the boxes the space that the item's taking up. Excuse me. So you start with 3 torches, and they each have 1 load. So they're each taking up 1 box. Now again, there is a list of items, but again, they say you can come up with your own. So let's have a look and see. Now, in previous games, I've taken things like swords and daggers and whatever, but I'm thinking an axe could be of more use, because I could use an axe for other things like breaking down doors and things like that. So I'm thinking instead of taking a sword, I'm going to take an axe. So my first item is going to be an axe, and that's 2 load. So the way that you do this, it's going to take up 2 boxes. So you write so that it takes up 2 boxes. Clever, huh? It's kind of like, it's going to be like a Tetris thing where you're trying to fit everything in to this space here. A little bit like the Scraps game that I covered on the channel. Boink, boink, link up here. Right, so I've got an axe. I need 2 more pieces of items, 2 more pieces of equipment. I'm thinking armor. Armor's always useful, so I'm going to go armor is a 3 load, so it takes up 3 spaces. Now, when you're doing this, you can only go horizontally and vertically, yeah? You can't write diagonally. I've got 1 more item that I need to take. I may actually go for ancient tomes. Again, for when I have to do thinky challenges, I've got reason here to think. But ancient tomes may actually be able to give me sort of, help me with clues and to give me information. So I think I'm going to take ancient tomes. Okay. So those are my 3 items. Now I have 5 spaces left in my inventory. You can, as a consequence, expend things. So for example, if I have to take a consequence, I could expend my armor by 1 point. That means my armor has 2 points left to represent kind of damage and stuff. So I can free up space later by expending or dropping items. Okay, that's that done. Got no stash yet. And that's it. I think, and that's pretty much all you need. You're ready to go. So we are going to be playing the first dungeon, which actually I use the book. I use the book. So we're going to be doing the Vault of Viscount Allard Hunt, which is the first dungeon which you have to clear and succeed at, and our goal is to kill Viscount Allard Hunt. And you have to complete this one before you can move on to the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth. So you have to do it in sequence. However, this video is a bit long already, I think. So what I'll do is I will stop the video here. So we've gone through what the game is. We've had a look at the changes. We've had a look at the basic mechanics. We've created our character, Klepto Liam. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this video here. In the next video, we are actually going to play through the first dungeon, the Vault of Viscount Allard Hunt. Hopefully, you understood some of what I was explaining. But watch it in action. Watch me in the next video. And we will actually see how all this works as you play the game. And you'll see that it's not that hard. It's actually a very clever little game. Very easy to use, easy to learn, easy to play game. So guys, thank you for watching. I hope this has been of interest. If it has, please click the like button. If you would like to help me out grow the channel, then please click the subscribe button. Would really appreciate that. So, next video, playthrough, Vault of Viscount Allard Hunt. Thanks very much for watching, guys. See you in the next video. Stay safe. Take care. Cheers.